Perfect.
Yeah, we just we moved everything from my office used to be downstairs, but we had a lot of work done on the house and moved stuff. And this was Reese's bedroom, so it has a kind of a special meaning for me to be in here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how's the quarantine even going?
My wife and I joke around because, it's kind of ironic. I mean, my job is going around speaking to people in large groups,
right?
Which of course is kind of the antithesis of what we should be doing right now. So, but outside of that, we tend to be very kind of stay-at-home people.
Right.
So we've joked that, everyone's complaining about, being home and everything. And we're like, this is totally normal to us.
Yeah.
It's just, in between shows, this is my life. So, the weird thing is not, there's nothing on the horizon right now, which is kind of weird for me. So, and a little disconcerting, but we'll figure it out.
Absolutely. And what about your wife? I mean, has it affected her work or?
Well, I mean, she's a teacher, so
yeah.
It's funny because it's universal. They're all learning on the fly how to take what they've been doing. My wife's been teaching for 20 years. Take what you've been doing, that you get into a rhythm on, and now it's been completely upended. And let's get the same material to the kids now in a way that you're completely unfamiliar with, and that's completely alien to half of the staff. And let's make it work. So I feel like they're trying to nail Jello to a wall with most of this, but so everyone's doing their best.
So what are they doing in New York? So here in Florida, they've kind of sent the kids home until April 15th tentatively. They presume it's going to be until the end of the year, I think. They've discontinued all the state testing. They've given parents the option of holding their kid back or letting them advance, I believe. And they've given them some online learning options, but I don't think there's like a mandatory curriculum. I think some teachers, and I don't have kids, so I'm kind of speaking from hearsay. And that seems to be what's happening is kind of parents have been left to do it on their own or not do it, which is probably what I was talking the other day with Mike here, who you can see behind me. And I was saying, if this was me, my mom would not have started homeschooling the day of the quarantine. It would have been just a much longer spring break. She'd been like, all right, well, good luck, have fun. But it sounds like up there, the teachers are still like teaching class essentially, but remotely.
Yeah, well, every school is doing it a little bit differently, but I know, there was a mandate from Governor Cuomo for the schools basically within one day to provide plans for what's going on. And even before schools were closed, my wife's school had them all plan out 10 days worth of online lessons. So, which they started using this week. Okay. And now over the next 2 weeks, they're designing more stuff. She's not like doing a video interaction with them, but they are doing online, kind of like take home assignments and stuff, which is counterintuitive to me because my wife's a language teacher. And I'm like, how do you teach someone a language if you're not actually there to speak it to them?
Yeah.
So, like I said, they're all trying to learn it on the fly, but New York did something similar. We canceled state tests. I think through grades 3 through 8, though. They didn't cancel the high school test yet. I'm sure they will. And a couple other, we don't know. It's been like they said. I think Cuomo gave to March 31st for us, not April 15th. But okay. We're waiting for the new announcement saying, okay, well, now it's going to be another 2 weeks. And I think that's what they're going to do basically until, the end of June is the way I see it. So.
Yeah, I think the school year is probably shot, right? I mean, I think this is it.
I would assume so. If they do go back, what are they going to do? They're going to spend all this time trying to catch up to things that, now they've spent all this time building out all this other stuff. So I just don't see it working, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of people who have now had their homeschooling dry run out of the system and they'll either decide they love it and they can do it, or this is definitely not for them. But the question of whether or not they can do it will be answered,
Oh, absolutely. I guess the hope is that there'll be a little bit more respect for teachers after this, because, after seeing the post that I see on Facebook, all the parents complaining about being home with their kids for a week,
Yeah.
Imagine having 30 of them all the time, every day. It's a different life. Obviously, I was a teacher. I taught for 16 years. So, I know that dynamic, and yeah, it's different. And it's, it's a calling when you're a teacher, though. So it's, you love it, but if you don't have that calling, I don't I don't think it's a natural thing for most of us, and to sit with your kids and have to deliver something, constantly. I think that takes kind of a discipline that a lot of us don't have. And, again, unless it's something innate in you. So my hope is that if parents are going to be like, wow, this really sucks. let's get these kids back to school, and, maybe a little bit more appreciation for what a teacher does every day.
I've definitely seen a lot of photos of kids on the ground screaming, crying, and the captions like, 2 hours in the first day of school. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, and I mean, and another truth. I mean, I'm science certified, so my daughter right now, my oldest daughter Abby, is in high school biology, and that's what I taught. And so obviously I know this stuff. And when she's had struggles, she's reluctant to get it, to have me teach her. So you have that too, where kids, my daughter knows that I am a source that she can access, and she's still reluctant to use me. So, there's that dynamic between a parent and their kid that you don't have with a teacher, that, so that's just an added level. So especially if they're not used to it, and now, my daughter's doing these online assignments, and now there's no context for her because she hasn't had this lesson to kind of learn it. She's trying to self-learn. So now, lo and behold, she's like, "Oh, Daddy, can you help me with this?" So, that's come up. But yeah, it's definitely, it's obviously it's different. It's alien to all of us.
So what language does your wife teach?
German.
German. Yeah. Not exactly an easy thing to learn over text.
No, I mean, any language would be hard, but yeah, German is, I would imagine they're all difficult, but I took German too. That's actually how I met my wife. So, so it was, we actually took we were on an exchange program in high school, and we both went on this same trip to Germany together with about 15 other students. And I met her on this trip in Germany, because we both came from different junior high schools within the same district. So it was in 10th grade where we started in the high school building. And it was the summer going into 10th grade that we did this exchange program, and I met her over there. And that's how it all started. So, but she actually hated me when she first met me. She thought I was obnoxious, which I am. So she had a good judge of character.
I was gonna say nothing's changed.
No, exactly. So I just wore her down.
So you guys met in 10th grade? Yeah.
Well, even summer of 9th grade going into 10th grade. So.
Wow. And so did you get married right out of high school, or?
No. We dated in high school. We started dating in 11th grade. We dated for a month, and she decided I was not her type, which she told me. She broke up with me a month to the day after we started going out. And it was outside of our chorus class. She dumped me and said, you're not my type. And, I questioned, I'm like, well, what's not your type? Nice guys? And she goes, no, just you. And I was like, oh, that was like the ultimate burn. But I told her very flatly, I said, I'm okay. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, because you're going to marry me one day. And she looked at me like, are you kidding me? And she goes, well, that'll be the day. And I said, okay. And walked in and, went to chorus. I was upset and just trying to let it out. And my chorus teacher tried to, bring me back down to earth. And we were friends again after that. And then we started dating again in senior year of high school. And then went to college. We broke up like the first month we got to college, and got back together again. And I think we broke up one other time after that, and then got back together again. We got married. And on the day of our wedding, right after we said our vows, I'm pulling out in the limo, and I turn to her. She's all excited. She's the beaming bride. And I look at her and I go, today's the day. And she goes, yeah, it's our wedding day. And I'm like, no, today's the day. And she's just getting frustrated with me. She's like, all right, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, remember when, we were in high school and you dumped me and I said, you're going to marry me one day. You said, that'll be the day. Today's the day. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you remember that. I said, wait. Remember how you also complained that I always have to be right? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, that's the only reason I married you. I wanted to make sure I was right.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah. So that's how it all started.
That's a cool story though.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, high school sweethearts, and my daughter now. It's funny, my daughter now, my oldest, is the age that we were when we met, and it seems surreal. And she's wondering, has she met the guy yet? And I'm like, odds are that's not going to happen. I mean, my wife and my story isn't typical. I'm like, so don't think that that's going to happen, sweetie. So, but yeah, it's cool. I love her with all my heart.
So we haven't talked a lot about this beforehand. We talked briefly yesterday before we decided to start doing this. And here's what I know. What we do know, I know that we want to do like a weekly thing. I want to resurrect the Child Safety Source video podcast.
Yeah.
There's an audio and a video version. To get child safety and water safety and other info out to folks. And I want to start doing it, with you every week. And also, when guests are available, there's somebody who wants to come on as a third wheel, to come join us.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. But beyond that, we haven't really talked about, kind of what, any thoughts you have for how this goes down or what the plan might be. And I figured, we could discuss it here, and so that way people have an idea of, kind of what's going to go on. Do you have any vision for the future?
Well, I think I think the name, the Child Safety Source, is great because and it's kind of an all-encompassing thing too, right? I mean, it's not it's not just water safety. Obviously, that's something I'm involved in.
Yeah, me too, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
But safety, it comes in so many different forms, and I think safety isn't just physical.
Right.
Your safety could be up here, could be here. So I think there's a ton of stuff that's out there. And I'm excited to open new frontiers and see where we can go with this. And I'm open to just about anything. I kind of, that's what when I speak to schools, I like I said, I do water safety. The main thing I do is kindness, because that's kind of what got me started on what I do now. And to me, there's a safety in that too, right? A safety and understanding that we're all connected. So I think the sky's the limit for what we can do here, and hopefully get some people involved.
Yeah, and child safety is broad. I've had on people who were financial advisors, because right. I thought child safety involved making sure that mom and dad have a good retirement plan so that they can
right.
Take care of their kids, right? I mean, that's child safety. I've had an estate planner on for because I think child safety encompasses if mom and dad pass away in a car accident together, right. And what happens next is part of their child safety, right?
Yeah.
So I've taken it. I had a dental hygienist who taught how to brush a 1-year-old's teeth, because dental hygiene and dental care is part of the child safety.
Yeah.
So I mean, the definition is broad. So yeah, I think like you said, there's a lot we can do with it, and I don't think there's a lot of people talking about child safety. In the space. There's Rick Kaufman is doing the drowning prevention stuff, which is fantastic. And obviously we'll do that too. And we have for however many episodes. It's been a bunch of them. But I like the idea that we're not kind of tied to that one thing.
Yeah, I think that makes it a little bit more interesting too. What's next week's show going to be about? Well, you'll have to tune in to see. So,
so since we're starting this new chapter here, you mind and I can do the same after you. Kind of explain who you are, where you come from, and why we're talking.
All right, so I mean, you heard a little bit about me. Of course, now you know my life story for me and my wife. So,
yeah, but that's a good start.
Yeah. I'm a former science teacher. I taught middle school science for 16 years. And, figured if you'd asked me, 5 years ago, would you ever stop doing this? My answer would have been no. But unfortunately, 8 years ago, right before Superstorm Sandy hit, we lost my 22-month-old son, who is named after me. And so it's funny, most people don't know his real name. His real name is Richard Edwin Amer Specht, but of course his initials spelled out Rees, and my last name is Specht, and so his nickname was Rees. His last name was Specht, ReesSpecht. But when he passed away, he died from a drowning accident. I was getting ready for Superstorm Sandy and taking care of the lawn furniture. I'd asked a friend to come and help me, so trying to be, that good parent. And it was just a simple miscommunication between my friend and I that led to Rees wandering off, and he was unsupervised for 5 minutes, and he fell into my backyard pond and he drowned, and we lost him. And obviously that changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I thought when Rees had passed away that was it, that, everything, I felt like I died with him. I felt like my relationship with my wife was probably going to die. Like, how are we going to come back from this? And we had, and then Superstorm Sandy actually hit 36 hours later, wrecked my, Long Island was devastated and had no power for 14 days. My yard was destroyed. My house was damaged, and, just thought that was the worst thing ever. Nothing would bring me back from that. And it was that interconnectivity that I didn't see between myself and everyone around us that saved me. That, we had a landscaper who was a complete stranger who found out what had happened and just showed up at my door and said, let me clean up your yard. And I wouldn't let him, and he did it anyhow. And he just kept coming back and just kept doing more and more and more. And it wasn't just him, it was, my friends and family and my former students, and all these people did all this stuff and wanted nothing in return. And it made me think, why were people doing this? And the scientist in me was like, okay, I get it. We were brought down here, so they were trying to bring us back up, right? And I thought in terms of positive and negative and charges. And I'm like, well, so everyone's trying to bring me back to neutral. So they realize they have this power when you're down here to bring you back here. So, and I remember saying at Rees's memorial service, I said, thank you. You helped to bring Samantha and I back to here. I said, but I have a crazy idea. If you have the power to lift us up here, what about if we assume that everyone is neutral? What can we do if we apply that power when we're all neutral? That's positivity, right? That brings us to a positive. And I thought about that as, let's start with this. Let's start with this idea that we can do little things that can lift us all up, not wait for tragedy, not wait for reactivity to kick in. Let's be proactive. And so we started doing acts of kindness in Rees's name. And we had these little cards printed up and called it ReesSpecht Life. And our goal was to do 500 random acts of kindness in Rees's name, and hope that would start something. And it did. We did our 500 acts of kindness in a year, but those 500 cards that we put out, people started doing other acts of kindness and would report them to us and would ask me for more cards, and I would send them out. And here we are now 8 years later, and we've given out 670,000 of those cards.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so, like I said, 5 years ago, I was still teaching, but I had been asked by a local college to come and share our story because they had heard about the cards and what we were doing. And I had shared with the college, it's Stony Brook University, which is right around the corner from my house. And when I spoke to the group, there was a bunch of teachers in the audience. And they are like, oh, can you come speak to my school? And I was like, well, I'm a teacher too, so it's kind of hard for me to get out. But my principal was awesome, and he said, if the school wants you to come and talk, go. We're all together in this. And so I started doing that, but then it started just getting to a point where I was having so many schools ask me to come and speak that I couldn't do both. And so 5 years or 4 years ago, I said, all right, fine, I'm going to see if I can do this full time. And that's what I've done ever since. So I've now spent the last 4 years basically traveling around the country, speaking to schools about kindness and bullying prevention and all those things that, kind of relate to the perspective that I now have based on our experience. And we try to share that with kids all over in all age groups, kindergarten through seniors. And in that same time, I was also approached by Bobby Hazen, who you know, of course,
Yep.
who had started a program here on Long Island called the Long Island Drowning Prevention Task Force. And he, of course, had heard about what had happened to Rees, and we'd met at a function together, which we were both being honored for our work in the community. And he wanted to get to know me. And I immediately, when I met him, I said, I don't want anything to do with drowning prevention. And he asked me why. And I said, because I failed at it. You know, I'm the poster child for what you're not supposed to do. You know, I feel like if I were to speak about, you know, how to prevent drowning, I'd be a hypocrite, you know? And he's like, no, you're the perfect voice for this. And, you know, you have experience speaking to schools, and we've been doing these school shows, but, you know, I could really use your help. And I basically blew him off, and I said, nope, I don't want anything to do with it, but, you know, good luck. And, but he just kept reaching out. He was persistent. If you know Bobby, you know that that's how he is. And I finally said, all right, you know what? I got to practice what I preach. I'll be nice. So I went to his office and I sat down with him, and he's talking to me, and he works for the largest swim school chain on Long Island, Safety Swim. And so when I went to meet him in his office, their logo was behind his head as he's sitting in his chair. And their motto was, where kids learn to love and respect the water. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, respect. that's it. And I just looked at him, and I was actually ignoring what he was saying, because it was almost like, you know, in Peanuts when the parents are talking, what. I know he was saying stuff, but I was just focused on this respect the water. And I just looked at him and I said, oh my God, that's it. All right, I'm supposed to be here. And he's like, what? And I said, no, respect the water. Like, maybe there's something to this. All right, I'll work with you. And I mean, he really didn't have to say a word to me. Just seeing those words did it. And so we kind of put our heads together and started doing, working together to kind of change what he was doing, because I kind of brought in my educator experience and my experience as a public speaker now too. And I said, oh, you need to do these things. Let's change this. Let's change this. But he kept doing it. He was doing the shows. First thing I told him is that you got to change the name of what you're doing. The Long Island Drowning Prevention Task Force is way too long. It's a mouthful. I was like, we got to get to the point. Let's give it a name that people can identify with and gives a sense of urgency. So we came up with End Drowning Now, which I don't think you can get any more succinct than that.
So that's it.
And we redesigned what he was doing as ReesSpecht the Water. And I had written a children's book, and we had an animated series that was in the works based on the characters in my children's book that were based on Rees, a little ReesSpecht. In the book, he's a little farmer who discovers that kindness is like a seed that you can help to grow, which is, you know, a good analogy for what we do. And he's like, can we use that character to kind of build out our shows? And I said, yeah, sure. You know, let's do it. And so we started designing this new show that involved the animated character Rees teaching children about the importance of water safety. So actually, that's the shirt I'm wearing. So ReesSpecht the Water. And you know, we finally got it to a place where we wanted to be. In fact, we were going to be unveiling the new program this year. We did a trial one last year, and we released an animated video that was based on what we're doing.
Yeah, which I watched, and I, you know, had a small part in, and
yes, you did.
It's awesome. It's super cool. Like, it's really well done. The animation's great. The story is fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. You know, it's like
the water safety one and the kindness one. I mean,
yeah,
they're both excellent. So yeah, I mean, they came out really good.
Yeah, the kindness one we haven't released actually, because that's actually part of what I do in my shows for kindergartners. So that's my way of teaching them kindness without like burdening them with Rees's story. But the water safety one, obviously we have released, and that's a part of the shows that we do. And we were getting ready for this big unveiling at the National Drowning Prevention Alliance conference that now has been changed, I guess, is
digitized
the word to it, of virtual, right? But
are you still presenting at the digital version?
Yeah, we are. But I think the thrust of what we're trying to do has been changed, because
right.
You know, I want to make sure that when we officially release this, that it's done right. You know, because, you know, there's a lot of distraction right now. There's a lot of noise, and I don't think, you know, if we were to try to release it now and say this is what we're doing, I think it would hit with a giant thud. So we don't want that. And we've had the backing now of the basically the largest franchisee of swim schools, Streamline Brands. They're partnering with us to help bring this to life. And we want to make sure it's big. And at this point, being able to do that doesn't really exist. I mean, swim schools across the country are closed right now.
Right.
So, it was exceptionally bad timing, but it's bad timing for everybody. So, but that's where we're at. So, but I'm kind of in limbo right now because I don't have schools to speak to because they're all closed. And obviously the water safety aspect too has been basically shut down, which a part of me is concerned about as well, because now you have kids who've been receiving, these lessons that I believe are integral, and now they're not getting them. And that goes for whatever type of swim lesson you were really getting. I think a lot of that's been shut down. So I have this concern that we're losing valuable contact with the most vulnerable group to drowning. And if this continues, it scares me. So yeah, so that's what I do.
That's one of the reasons why I've been glad that we've been able to stay in business. We're not shut down like a lot of the other businesses are.
Right.
In fact, yesterday, the mayor of West Palm Beach announced on behalf of Palm Beach County that Palm Beach County was shutting down all non-critical businesses. They'd already done non-essential businesses, but now it's non-critical. Apparently there's a difference. He had a little bit in there that how every business in Palm Beach County is essential. So they're shutting down non-critical businesses.
Right.
And I was like, all right, this is it. This is where they're going to tell us to stop. And, I read through the list, and thankfully, it looks like we're still okay. But which I'm glad, because, you have all of these parents who are staying at home with all their kids, for long stretches of time, distracted by everything going on, in an environment they're not used to dealing with, maybe trying to homeschool like we talked about. And, now more than ever, people need to have the layers of protection in place to protect their pools. So I'm really glad that we're still here, shipping pool fences. Our dealers are still out there installing pool fences, especially for all these people who are in an unusual situation right as summer is starting, right as the weather's warming up, and right as the doors to the backyard are being opened, right as older kids are going to be in and out of the back doors, probably going in and out of the pool, maybe leaving those doors open for their younger siblings. All that's going on. So I'm glad that we're still able to make and ship fence. It makes me happy.
Well, yeah, I mean, and to me, what you do is integral. We talk about, it's funny, all the water safety people talk about the layers of protection, and that's like ingrained in us now. But that's actually alien to most parents. Like, they just don't know it. They don't see it. And that's why, as an educator, that's why I am particularly drawn now to what I do for water safety, because I realize, when people ask me what killed my son, my first answer is ignorance. Ignorance. Because I unfortunately believe the myth that I think most parents believe, which is deadly, is that, it's the perfect parent myth. Most parents think that water safety begins and ends with their focus and their attention, and that the first thing you hear when a child drowns, the first voices you hear from people outside of sympathy is, oh, they're bad parents. They didn't keep their eyes on their kids, and the fingers get pointed, and the perfect parents are the ones. Oh, see, that's bad. And I was that parent, because every time I read about a drowning, I'd shake my head like, oh my God, how could they not keep their eyes on their kids? And when we lost Rees, it was 5 minutes, and it was a miscommunication. My friend thought Rees was with me. I thought he was with him. We both thought we were doing what was necessary. And it turns out neither of us were, because that's chaos. That's entropy. That's the universe.
Right.
And the thing I got to realize is that there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Every parent I've ever spoken to has said, well, my God, I've said those same words. Where's so-and-so? And I realized that, 99.9% of the time, that statement, where is so-and-so, ends with relief, like, oh, I found you. But in my case, and in the case of basically every other parent I've ever spoken to that's lost a kid to a drowning, or really any type of accident, right? Any type of accident that a kid wandered off on their own, it's always the same thing. Oh, I thought they were with you, or oh my gosh, I thought they were here. So this belief that we can keep attention on kids full time is it's folly. And
Yeah, I get more concerned by parents who say, I always watch my kid. I don't need that. Essentially they don't require any additional layers of protection because they're always watching their kid. Those parents scare me way more than the ones who are like, yeah, I sleep, I use the restroom. I've got an older child that I'm sometimes talking to, and I definitely need support. Because that parent is realistic. The first one doesn't realize that he or she is delusional.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I just read a story to tie it into what we're experiencing right now. I just read a story about the social distancing and the people who are practicing it basically to the T, versus you see things like from Clearwater Beach and stuff where that you had groups of people all gathering together. And I was just reading an article from a sociologist saying that you could basically group people into one of three categories when it comes to any type of crisis. It's under-preparers, over-preparers, and then the Goldilocks ones. And I was like, that's exactly, that applies to exactly what I've been doing, because the under-preparers are the ones who are like, it's going to be fine. They're the ones who are overconfident in their belief of what they can do. So I don't need to worry about it because I've taken care of it. The over-preparers are the ones who take it to an extreme and try to lock everything down. And then you have like the Goldilocks people who are realistic but understand what they need to do. And unfortunately, most people fall into the two extremes, and most don't fall into that little Goldilocks zone. And I think you see that being demonstrated with people's response to COVID-19. I definitely see that response when it comes to people's responses to, water safety. And, it's like, wow, you can apply this to so many different things. And so it's kind of stuck out to me that, again, how do you stop, how do you get people from being those under-preparers to over-preparers to the Goldilocks zone? And, it struck me, well, that's still education. When people, the more the more you're likely to respond to something in an informed way. So still comes down to getting the word out, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to the COVID-19 thing, I think I'm oscillating between those two extremes. Like I've definitely never been in the Goldilocks. I go from being like, I think I'll be all right, to, batten down the hatches. I'm not talking to anybody even over the phone because they might give it to me. Yeah, I've swung wildly from one direction to the other at any given moment.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it made sense to me when I read this. It's like, okay, yeah, I think that's true. I mean, how many of us actually find ourselves in that perfect place? I don't think we do. So, but the thing is too, if under-preparers are going to be the people who also, I think if you I don't have data that backs this up, but I would think that the majority of those under-preparers are people who are also underinformed and don't recognize the inherent danger.
Right.
So that comes back to ignorance. So, when it came to losing Rees, when people asked me what killed him, I said, well, my ignorance did, because, I thought that just keeping my eye on my kid was enough. We actually had a self-latching gate that went around my backyard that I thought was enough. We didn't have something around the pond. Well, why would I put a fence around my pond? I want to look at it. I want it to be pretty, So, the aesthetics were more important, right? And, and I thought, I combine that with the fact that I keep my eyes on my kids, and I have this fence, and I have alarms on my doors so that every time a door opened, it was a sound that I would know. I thought I had everything prepared. And the one thing I didn't have, and honestly, the thing that I think would have made the most difference, is he hadn't started swim lessons. And that's one other layer, right? And I was told start him at 2. So he was actually signed up to start his swim lessons at 2. He was 22 months old when he died. And, he drowned in 18 inches of water. And he could have stood up. he could have reacted had he not been afraid or unfamiliar with the water. And, we started my daughter, Melina, who we had after Reese, we started her swim lessons at 4 months old. And I can tell you for sure, if the same situation had repeated itself with her, I wouldn't be sitting here, because she would have just nonchalantly kind of self-rescued herself and gotten out of the water without even thinking twice at 22 months old. So, and I didn't know that then, and I do now. So that's where that ignorance comes in. So, that's why education and getting word out is important. That's why I think doing something like we're doing right now is important, and hopefully people respond.
Yeah, I was doing those videos for a while where I was literally saying every day that drowning is the #1 cause of accidental death for children between ages of 1 and 4 years old, and that multiple areas of protection are the solution. Because, like I said, I don't think people realize that the drowning literally kills more children, besides disease, than anything else. More than car accidents, more than the outlets that you put plugs in, more than the stairs that you put gates in front of, more than all the things. In some cases combined, drowning is what's killing children, and especially in that 1 to 4 age range.
Yeah.
And if you think you watch your kid all the time, you don't.
No,
you can't. You have to sleep, right?
Yeah.
You have to go to the bathroom at some point. You have to, do the things you do to live a life. It's literally impossible to have your eyeballs on a 2-year-old all day every day. And if you are, you probably look crazy.
Right.
So it's impossible. You need layers of protection beyond supervision, because it does fail. 70% of drowning cases happen like yours, where there was a parent responsible for supervision and something broke down.
Well, it's, I unfortunately now, I say that I become a member of a fraternity I never wanted to be a member of.
Yeah.
But, in being a part of this fraternity and speaking to all these other parents, it struck me the first time I met them was that, oh my God, all our stories are the same. They're all versions of the same story. And, so this idea that, are we the bad parents? Is every person I'm looking at right now, are they bad people? No, they were parents. They were humans, and we make mistakes. And, the one unifying factor was that there was one or multiple layers of the protection that, had they been in place, would have made a difference. So in my case, I truly believe it was the swim lessons, and had Reese had them, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And then in those other parents' cases, it wasn't having, a pool fence with a self-latching, self-closing gate. And that would have made the difference. And they didn't have it. So, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And, I saw that weak link unified, but the one unifying factor was still, oh, I thought they were with you, or I thought they were okay, or I thought they were here, or so, to me, that's the threat, is that, we're overconfident, and that overconfident results in underpreparedness. So,
I say this all the time. Every parent has a story of, catching their kid with crayons, painting a mural on the living room wall, right?
Right.
Every parent's got the story of their kid covered in peanut butter, because they climbed up on the counter and got access to it, and it's all to themselves. Every parent's got the story of their kid shaving half their head off in the bathroom, or putting makeup all over themselves, the dog, and the floor, right? Like these video montages of these really funny videos of kids getting into all these things where they were obviously unsupervised for long enough to achieve these feats, right? And I always say, these are just lucky parents. They're lucky these kids decided to do this instead of going to the backyard and into the pool.
Right. And where's the irony there that you can post those videos on Facebook or online, and oh my God, that's so funny, ha ha ha. And yet when my story's out there, oh my God, what a terrible human being they are. What terrible parents. Oh, I would never do that.
Yeah.
So, again, that's a lack of perspective. It's a lack of understanding. And, there's two ways you get perspective. There's only two, and this is universal. You either experience something that causes you to see something differently than you saw it before. That's the first way. And that's honestly the most effective way to get perspective. But the second way you can get perspective, and the only other way, is to have someone share with you an experience that makes you think differently than you had before and makes you see something from a different way than you had seen it before. And you know what we call those people? Teachers. Because you've now taught them something that they hadn't seen before. So that's what an educator does. They give perspective. And that's why education is so important. And that's why doing what we're doing is so important. That's why when you asked me to join you with this, I was like, absolutely. I didn't even hesitate,
Yeah.
You asked me, I'm like, yep, I'm in, because this is another chance to educate. And so I hope people are paying attention, because it makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more we can, connect those, funny moments that
Right.
people share to the idea that those are fatality near misses, right?
Right.
I think that's a successful way of doing it. I think it's been done a lot, really. I mean, there's been some things people have posted on Facebook, a little, some grassroots stuff. I don't think that idea has been put into like a real campaign and distributed. And I think that might be worth looking into,
Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd have to kind of walk a fine line there, because I don't want to go to every funny video and be like, ha ha ha, that's funny, but your kid could have died.
Right.
But we definitely I if you could open someone's eyes up to that idea,
right,
then yeah, like, oh my God, like I didn't think of that. I have pictures. It's funny. You mentioned what you said about kids shaving off an eyebrow, or getting into the peanut butter. I have pictures of my other kids from those end results. Like, we have one of my favorite pictures of my daughter Abby is her covered with the Desitin, the diaper rash cream.
Oh, Jesus.
And that was so funny, because what did she do? She got into the Desitin into the drawer without our knowledge.
Right.
And when we caught her with it, we're like, oh my God, what did you do? And that moment was literally no different than the moment that stole my son from us. And literally the only difference there is that one had a funny, happy ending, and the other one had a tragic one.
Right.
And as a result of the ending, now people's perception of it is totally different. And again, if that's the case, then their perspective on it is off. And so you have to have that perspective. And again, the only way you do that is either experience it, which I don't want, obviously don't want that. So we got to teach them.
Absolutely. And I think the only folks who get it worse than drowning, the parents who have experienced drowning, who you guys get it terrible. It's not right how people treat parents who have experienced drowning, because like you said, it could happen. All these parents who have had these stories or experiences, they just got lucky. But the only people who get it worse, who also don't deserve it, are the parents who have lost a child in the back of a car due to overheating.
Yep, I thought that's where you're going.
Yeah, because that's also a phenomenon that can happen to anybody.
Yep.
The psychological mechanic that makes a parent forget their child is random and can literally happen to anybody. If you've ever driven to work and gotten there and realized you don't remember driving the whole way, like you're just there, and you don't remember if you stopped at the red lights, but you did because you survived. That's you, right? I mean, that could be you. And yeah, everybody's had those experiences where they're kind of on autopilot and they just get to where they're going and walk into work or wherever they're going and and don't think of things. And especially if you're underslept or overstressed, all the things that a young parent usually is.
Right.
So and yeah, those people get treated so terribly by other parents who think there's no way they can forget their kid in the back of a car, and they 100% could. There is no question that any parent could suffer the same phenomenon.
Correct.
It's just luck they haven't. And that's another kind of project I'm working on. It's still kind of in its infancy, but yeah, I hate when I see one of those stories and all the comments are just moms and dads ripping on those parents. It's terrible. It just like you talk about, just be nicer, even if that's true, right? Even if that parent screwed up and they're negligent in some way, which sometimes happens. You
Right.
read stories about parents just, they're on, they're on narcotics and, that they're doing the wrong thing. I mean, it happens. But even then, cultivate some kindness, right? Be
Right.
nice.
That's right. Yeah, you'd be surprised what it can do. Being kind doesn't mean you're being weak. It doesn't mean kindness isn't necessarily forgiveness either.
Right.
And I think a lot of people confuse the two.
Or acceptance.
Right. So, kindness should be unconditional. And so forgiveness is conditional. Obviously, there's a condition that requires you to forgive. So kindness should be unconditional. And you can be kind and still be stern. You can be kind and still give consequence. So yeah, I think we lose that as a society. We don't quite grasp what kindness truly represents. And obviously that's something else I'd like to change. And you were just mentioning before, we're talking about ideas for other shows. Something I would love to touch on one day is inattentive blindness, because that's a fascinating subject that I've become more interested in since we lost Reese. And yeah, that's definitely something that it's just keeping in my mind. If you know anything about it, there's some fascinating studies on that psychological phenomenon that we all experience that explains how a parent could leave a kid in the car, and explains how you can think you're focusing on something that you're actually not. And this idea that you can do two things at once, or you really can't. So definitely something to keep in mind for a future podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about that. I think we've been doing this for close to an hour. We can wrap it up. But I was going to ask you, because
sure.
We're talking about kindness. I mean, you've been obviously thinking and talking about the idea of kindness at a level that I don't think most people tend to do. As you've gone through this, has there been any ideas about kindness that you've kind of uncovered that you didn't know before? Has your idea of what kindness is changed? Has it evolved? Are there some nuances of it that you're surprised about? Have there been any revelations about kindness that you kind of unpacked?
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest one I had was actually something I already touched on. I honestly, before all this, I would have told you that kindness is absolutely conditional, that it's reactive, that it's transactional. I always looked at kindness as something that was a means to an end. I looked at it very clinically before I was, experienced this for real. And I think that's the scientist in me. I saw it as, kind of action reaction. And what I've come to understand through what I've done is that it's actually literally not that kindness is this nebulous thing that kind of connects us. And it's this undercurrent that I can't put my finger on, and to me, that's actually, it almost makes it like this magic, because I see what it does, and it doesn't have to be conditional. And yes, can kindness be conditional? Sure. But I don't know if that's truly kindness then, if there's a condition to it. So what I've come to recognize kindness as being is this power that we have to lift others up. And it doesn't have to have a reason. We could do it at any time. And that to me was the biggest thing I recognized. And it was my biggest change. And it's honestly the message I'm trying to get out there is that you can be kind at any time. And when you choose it, it has an effect on someone else. So your choice to do it is the greatest power you have, because when you choose to be kind, you're doing it honestly to lift others up. And it shows this interconnectivity between us that I never truly grasped until I saw what happened, until I saw 500 cards becoming 670,000. So this interconnectivity is the biggest thing that I got out of it, that, I was like, it just blew my mind. And it continues to, because, these connections that I see that I never would have seen otherwise.
And I mean, I think we're all getting a good lesson of that right now, right? The way this virus is spreading really shows just how connected we are, right? I mean,
yeah, I said this to you yesterday. My hope is that people would recognize this interconnectivity that we have. That, my God, here's proof. If you ever wanted proof that we're all connected, here you go. Look at this virus. there's not a continent on Earth not affected by it. And it started from one person. So, I mean, that's the definition of a virus, honestly. But, that's why when something online goes viral, that's why we refer to it that way. That's how, honestly, part of my idea for what we were doing for the foundation was that very same idea. One thing going to two things, and two going to 40, this exponential growth. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy stuff, and definitely something that's worth touching on.
Yeah, I mean, if a virus can start with one person and spread to 2 and spread to 4, and then eventually reach everybody on Earth, kind of what we're experiencing now, an idea can't do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A concept, an emotion. So, I think the same thing that we're seeing with COVID-19 can happen for water safety, for drowning prevention, for child safety in general, for the idea of being more kind. It just has to keep spreading.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree.
So that's kind of a cool thought. But all right, man. So the plan for this, dear listeners, is we're gonna do this once a week. We're gonna do this every Thursday morning. I think this will probably be up before noon on Thursday Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Savings Time, I think right now. So that's the plan. Every Thursday in the AM, we are gonna do this thing. Put a little edit thing on it and get it up on Facebook, YouTube, and the Apple and Android podcast spots. And we're gonna see how it goes. I'm excited about it. I like doing this before with a different guest each week, and Rich was one of my favorite people I had on. Not just because of the Superman stuff behind him, but that definitely helps though. So yeah, I'm excited about this, and I'm looking forward to doing it.
Yeah, me too, Eric. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be able to have a platform to be able to share some of these ideas.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, guys, you take it easy. We will see you next Thursday. Take care.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Bye.